presenting on this model boat that we see here. This boat was placed in a tomb during the Egyptian Middle Kingdom, which lasted from around 2050 to 1650 BC. Although we have no knowledge of the tomb the boat was placed in, the purpose of the boat is clear. In ancient Egypt, wealthy men and women would build themselves extensive tombs. During the Middle Kingdom, there was a long period of high Egyptian prosperity, marked by high flood waters of the Nile each year. One year it was reported that the Nile flooded 19 meters above the actual level. Because of this prosperity, pharaohs and other wealthy people could devote more time and energy to preparing themselves for the afterlife. When deaths occurred, the deceased would be mummified and then brought to their tombs, accompanied by all their belongings. So, the Egyptians had a view of death that might seem odd to us. When one died, the soul separated into two parts. In order for these two parts to recombine and enter the afterlife, the person must have all the provisions, their belongings, to sustain themselves there. Now, the entrance to the afterlife was on the Nile, so they needed a way to travel the river. That's where this boat comes in. The idea of the model boat was that it could be used to represent the boat that would carry the person in the afterlife. There's a 15-man crew, all dedicated to carrying the deceased. In the style of the Middle Kingdom, the men are nondescript, with clearly formed faces but undefined bodies. They're all exactly the same, which contributes to the idea that they're working toward the common goal. The army of slaves tells us that the deceased was a powerful man. It's interesting that this boat does not have a seat for the dead man, as many other boats of this type do. But it's possible that there was a seat up here, which might have fallen off, or that one possibility was that the seat may have fallen off, and the other possibility is that there was a whole other boat that might have carried the man himself, because the boat's 5,000 years old, so it's possible that we lost stuff. Okay, so the boat relates to death, but it represents a view of death in a time period long ago. In ancient Egypt, death was a big deal. People were judged in their lives based on how prosperous they would be in death. It was kind of like the afterlife was a big party, and you wanted to get invited. To do this, Egyptians devoted countless resources, often ignoring wars, famines, and other issues, to prepare themselves for the afterlife. Life was just a stepping stone to death, where you could live in eternal prosperity. So in my paper, I used a poem from ancient Rome to exemplify this. In Horace Odes 1.37, he discusses the death of Cleopatra, an ancient Egyptian. According to Horace, Cleopatra nec mulier brater expavit ensa, which means that she did not fear the sword like a woman. From these few words, you can see how Cleopatra is unafraid to die. She knows that her time has come, and she's ready to enter the afterlife. So for my project, using the information from that poem and this boat, I compared this boat to our modern Western death customs. As you can see, it's a little different. First, we don't put stuff in our tombs. In the prominent Western religions, the proper way to prepare for death is to pray a little harder or have a priest anoint us with oil or something similar. Everything we do is during our life. Once death comes, we're buried, and that's it. So when someone dies, they're in a better place, but to us on earth, they're gone. We'll never see them alive again, and that makes us sad. To demonstrate this, I looked at the 1997 version of the song Candle in the Wind by Elton John. In the song, John glorifies Lady Diana Spencer, who died in a car crash, by talking about how wonderful she was in her life. He wanted her to be alive again, and the song reflects this. Unlike the ancient Egyptians, we are never ready to let someone leave this world. So, what does the song mean? The ancient Egyptian beliefs about death were overpowering, so much that they had to devote their entire lives to them. While some people in our society do this, it's not a regular practice. For most, concerns about death take a back seat to concerns about life. But who's right? Where does this put us? Unfortunately, no one will ever know what happens about death until we get there. So we can't know the proper way to prepare for it. We can only live pursuing whatever beliefs give us comfort about the eternity to come.